Okay, how about we kind of touched on it briefly? How about healthcare? We got at least one MD in the house. Give us this kind of a perception on that and what's exciting. What are you investing in? What's exciting?
Healthcare is just so totally fucked up. You look at healthcare spend as a percentage of GDP, and you look at us and every other OECD country, we're literally 80% more expensive, and we have poorer outcomes, and we have a higher likelihood of death. It's just we could not be worse. Just fundamentally, we suck at this.
So if we were getting a test where it's a fail?
It's a fail. It's an F. And that's not a subjective assessment. That's just an objective evaluation of the facts. Way more dollars go in, just orders of magnitude more, and not as good stuff come out. And so that's just the plain facts. And so how do you fix it? I think that there are things that you can do to help the system fix it, because there are people in the system that actually genuinely want to make things better. We've tried to partner when we can with those folks. So we have a pretty deep relationship with the Mayo Clinic. We love those guys. And a couple of other people that do a lot of stuff in healthcare that we're just really big supporters of. And so we try to find novel ways of moving those kinds of thought leaders forward, because if they can do something that's interesting, so I'll give you a simple example, a very, very simple example. But they send bills to all of us that are incoherent and incomprehensible. Just a simple thing. If you've ever gone to the hospital and you get those EOBs, you probably want to burn the EOB and then you want to shoot yourself in the temple. You're like, what is this fucking piece of paper? You don't know what it's saying. And so as a result, what happens? People don't pay their bills. Now, none of us are inherently looking to cheat the system, I suspect, except Citron maybe. He was always the shiftiest character at AOL. But everybody else, but most people want to act as reasonably rational, predictable actors and do the right thing. Anyways, so what happens? So you have collection agencies, you have all this infrastructure that gets built around solving these problems that could be solved in very simple other ways. So anyways, we had a product that we launched to consumers. It was a complete failure. And what it was trying to do was actually create transparency around pricing data and pricing information to people. We refactored that product. We launched it as an enterprise product, which is to help hospitals just communicate more effectively with their patients, being able to understand their EOBs and understand their costs better. And then what we did was we stuck a little button that said pay now. And what happened was when people understood, they're like, oh, click, let me just pay it, let me get done with this stuff. And all of a sudden payment rates go through the roof. And now all of a sudden hospital cycle times.
Problem.
It's just a simple UI problem, right? And so when you see these things and you have these aha moments, you're just like, holy mackerel, how many of these types of things exist? So there's those kinds of things. And then there's an entirely new set of things, which is just about using technology to make simple things more effective. We did a lot of stuff. So when you look at the chronic diseases that really matter, it's obesity, heart disease, diabetes, and asthma, COPD, respiratory stuff. And if you re-rank those, and really what you said was what if you said primary conditions, you'd really come to diabetes and then respiratory, because diabetes is really kind of this gateway drug. It's a beautiful gateway drug. You want to get really obese, get diabetes. You want to get heart disease, get diabetes. It's a really effective disease that way. And so we went after those using novel technology. And we've gone through the FDA process, which I think is an unfortunate retardant of real progress, because they're built around a very a highly lobbied and highly regulated infrastructure that pharma and other folks set up to extract more money from the system. But we've gone through it because we've had to. And in each of these cases now, we have very simple products. In the asthma COPD example, it's a really simple Bluetooth cap that goes on your asthma inhaler, and every time you use it, it collects all this telemetry data and metadata, and it basically drives an algorithm that sends you a text message that says, take a preventative dose right now. And it prevents all this emergency room readmission. And then as a result, you're missing school less, you're missing work less, all of the downstream knock-on effects. Same thing with diabetes. It just allows you to elegantly transfer all the data off your glucometer to your smartphone and graph it. And by the way, did you know that I had to go through FDA approval and spend $500,000 fucking dollars to be able to show you a graph? But we did it. But what happens is when you show people a graph, they're like, oh, it's going up. I must stop eating chocolate bars. Oh, it's going down. I'm good. You know what I'm saying? And so as a result, what happens? Now, all these knock-on effects are very positive. These people they lose weight. They don't develop heart disease. They don't develop all these other knock-on effects. And so you just see all these downstream savings. So we do those kinds of things. And then we kind of do the shoot the moon stuff, which is just like, let's just take a shot on goal of just like saying, well, what if the rules were completely different? You know, what if you could just be in your bathroom and test yourself every morning? Mm-hmm. Take a drop of blood, see 40, 50, 60 analytes, crowdsource feedback so that someone say, hey, you know what, Narendra, I'm looking at your LDL levels, and they're actually quite high, and I can see that you're a 30-some years old, 40-some years old of this ethnicity living in this. I'm very similar. I used red rice yeast, and it actually dropped 25 points. I mean, how, what a no-brainer would that be? You know, or like a woman's trying to get pregnant, and basically one simple drop of blood, and you can have a much better understanding of fertility, so that you don't have to go through all these crappy, products, and then go to a doctor, go through IVF, blah blah blah, or just know. Just like all these simple things are so possible. So we're trying some stuff there too. So our eventual goal is to basically put healthcare in all of our individual hands, because I just think we're much more capable of managing it. But in the short term, to try to help the folks that are like the agents of good that are actually trying to move this thing forward and fix it.
Do you see a path towards a sort of acceleration on that? Like, do you see a path towards entrepreneurs going into this instead of building photo shooting?
Yeah, we're seeing really, really, really great. Yeah, we're seeing the beginnings of what I think is a sea change.
Okay.
Like, look, I mean, I made this example to Scoble, and in the last 8 or 9 years, there was 1,040 discrete venture-funded photo apps.
Yeah, we fortunately built the first one, so it was a good.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, you've been dry humping the same fucking company for 10 years, so you're a little different. But I mean, you buying, selling, that's smart. I have no problem with that. What I have a problem with is what is a 731st guy thinking? What is that guy thinking? You had scale. You know what I'm saying? You sell it at the high, it goes down because it's mismanaged. You buy it at the low, you drive it up again. I mean, okay, that's fine. I have no problem with that. But the 1,045th guy, 7 accretive exits. You're one of the biggest ones. 7 exits, $1 billion of capital. I mean, Jesus Christ! You probably could have solved breast cancer if we basically said to folks, "Hey, I've assembled the A team of data analysts. I've sequenced 15,000 women who express BRCA1, BRCA2, and I've machine learned these massive indicators of both women who will, women who won't, who both express the gene. We can give that to Roche, and let's develop a drug candidate." I bet you with $1 billion I could solve that problem.
By far the best investment you can make is in yourself. If you invest in yourself, nobody can take it away from you.